Hello, 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 hello. Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us tonight at the Brotherhood. And thank you to the staff here. My man Brad's coming in with 2 extra chairs. Thank you very much. Panelists are getting set. Excellent, we got that one. So, I won't delay it too much longer, but I just wanted to say thank you very much for attending this event. Sold out is always good for an event. We love to include everybody, but we'd rather have a full house than an empty one. Upcoming chamber events, we have a whole calendar of events on our website. So keep in mind, February 7th is the next event. It'll actually be virtual. It's a SCORE business training event. 2023, Planning Your Roadmap. A couple other chamber announcements. Our Rock Solid grant opened today, available through an online portal through nantucketchamber.org. So keep that in mind if you're looking for any, if you want to apply for any of our grants. That's headed up by Karen Maycumber in our NICE department, as well as Jackie McGrady, our new staffer that joined us this year. Also, Bianca Brown and Ivana Stoyanov in our office put this all together. So Ivana's not here tonight, but Bianca is, and we're trying to do our best to serve our business community. So if you'd like to see more of these events, just let us know what you want to see, and we'll do our best to put them on. A couple board members are in the house, too. I don't know if anyone wants to raise their hand. Laura Burnett, Susan Dragon, Mark Anthony. Did I miss anyone? Excellent. So if you have any chamber questions, ask them. They're full studied. And then thanks to the staff of the Brotherhood, this room is not open after, if you want to stick around for dinner. The front notch bar and downstairs are available. So you've got a couple options. So I won't delay any further. Michelle Ochapinti is our moderator, and she is going to take it from here.
Thank you, Peter. Hello, everyone. My name is Michelle Iacopente. I'm the founder of Act Professional. I welcome you all here this evening. Tonight's leadership panel is to provide an inspiring discussion as we explore the relationship between organizational culture, leadership behavior, and job satisfaction. Providing insightful leadership strategies for you to use, increasing team morale and retention to manage a diverse team in today's world. We hope you take from this panel discussion insightful opportunities for you to increase your impact as a leader and inspire a culture of integrity with the businesses you lead. As I introduce tonight's panel, I'd like to take a moment, of course you know myself, but here we are. Please welcome with me our panel leaders at this time. Leading by example, building trust and gaining rapport with his staff to inspire them to take the lead. Please welcome Cormac Collier, President and CEO of Nantucket Conservation Foundation. My second one is holding standards high in quality, production, and dedication is Frank Daly, President of Daly Construction and the Nantucket Builders Association. Honoring her culture is important. Staff is her priority. She is passionate about books and brews. Wendy Hudson, co-founder of Cisco Brewers, owner of Nantucket Book Festival and Nantucket Book Partners. Leading a team of Nantucket ambassadors. She empowers her team from the moment they arrive till they depart on the island. Denise Corson, Sea Smoke Hospitality, Backyard Barbecue, and Charlie Noble. Building relationships is most important as she leads, raising $600,000 with her volunteers and staff just in 2022 alone, and continues to contribute to the community. It serves with over $6.9 million provided to the Nantucket Hospital to date. Please welcome Mary Casey, Executive Director of Cottage Hospital Thrift Shop. All right. And as we begin this panel, everyone to believe on what they believe as what leadership brings to us, I'd like to ask each one of you, what is leadership? As I begin with Cormac, what do you believe leadership is?
Oh, it's on now. Great, fantastic. Thank you very much, Michelle. And thank you to the Brotherhood and thank you to the Chamber for hosting us.
Yes.
It's a pleasure to be here and participate in this panel. What is leadership? Leadership is showing support, direction, vision, and positivity to your staff, your community, and your constituents.
Very nice. Wendy, what is leadership to you?
Is it on? Thank you all, and thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Chamber. I did want to clarify, I own Bookworks and Mitchell's, and I will say that Kaylee Kokomore, the executive director of the Book Festival, is in the house. So I just want to make sure I didn't claim to own the Book Festival.
Thank you for
So
that.
as far as leadership, I take that in a pretty broad way, and what I kind of set down was that it's taking an active role in shaping your environment, whether that be your business, your nonprofit, your family, or your community. It's standing up for what you believe in and accepting accountability for your actions. And I believe that everyone should see themselves as a leader, especially in a democratic society. So we're all in it together.
Thank you. Denise, what is leadership?
Thank you, everyone, for coming, and thanks for having me. I'd say that leadership is, making sure that the people around you have the tools and all the information they need to be able to, perform at their best, and making sure that you have all the support for them, and that that you're leading by example, both personally and professionally, and being a great person and part of the community.
Thank you.
Thank you all for inviting me. And to me, leadership is the ability to motivate and guide and inspire individuals towards common goals. And while you're doing that as a leader, making sure they understand what their role is in achieving those goals.
Fantastic. Thank you.
For fear of doing a really bad overused analogy, I look at leadership as the steady hand on the tiller. You're kind of the captain of the ship. You're navigating it through the stormy waters, but you're the person that your team needs to rely on. You're the person that needs to keep that common camaraderie together, the unifier that keeps a common purpose as we all kind of pull in the same direction. So I think there's many hats at that fall under what leadership is, but it's really that steady hand, that steady presence that gets you to that common goal.
Excellent. Thank you. And when we look at leadership, what is some of the top qualities that represent an outstanding leader? Mary?
To me, the top qualities, number one is to be a visionary. You need to be a clear communicator, an honest communicator, and also an empathetic, active listener. And I know that because I have about 150 volunteers, so this is something that I need to do daily. Also, I think a leader needs to be consistent and clear with expectations as far as moving the organization and the individuals toward the goals. Enthusiastic and fair. To me, fairness, not meaning equal, but just being fair.
Thank you. Denise, what are your top qualities that represent a leader?
I think that being able to both incorporate yourself and remove yourself from, the individual performances. So be able to be there and be immersed in what they need and what each individual needs to be successful, because everyone learns differently, everyone responds to different types of, stimulus, and also being able to push people forward and knowing what each individual person needs to be motivated, and being able to make sure that they are both being lifted up and pushed forward, but that they know that you're there to support them if they're doing anything new, whether taking a new role or trying a position that they've never done before, making sure that they know they have your support, but also motivating them to do something they've never done before.
Excellent. Thank you. And when we're building a culture of integrity on the island, what would you believe are the top qualities that establish an outstanding culture within the Nantucket community? Frank?
I think there needs to be a lot of trust involved, regardless of what the occupation is or what your industry may be. There needs to be an enormous amount of trust between the business owner, their clientele, the staff of that business owner, and that comes through being very honest with your staff, being very honest with your clientele, managing expectations of what that end result needs to be. Being able to be honest with yourself about your own shortcomings, the things that you need to work on. But really that honesty and trust, they're really hand in glove. I don't know really which one precedes the other, but without that trust and that honesty within your business, within your own corporate structure and your leadership, everything else kind of falls apart.
Without trust, right? You can't lead. Absolutely. What do you believe are the top qualities that establish an outstanding culture within the Nantucket community, Wendy?
Well, Nantucket is so unique, right? I'm totally with Frank on the trust. I mean, we started the brewery. I'd been working at the farm, and we knew the people down the road, and they gave us some, like the people's connections are what kind of make it all work. And we are all here for each other. And I think there's a sense you have to do your time, and once you've done it, then you've earned something. And things that work here, for example, starting the brewery, it was like a total handshake. We had no paperwork on that entire business. I mean, we had insurance and that kind of paperwork, but like the inter partner thing, we didn't really need to do it until like, I don't know, 8 years ago. I mean, it was well underway, well past the time that any insane, off-island thing would have done it. So you can do things just so much more, and that's the island culture, right, that so many of us came here for. It wasn't going to be the corporate world. It was different. And as long as you were like upholding your doing stuff for each other, it was great. I worry now, like I don't know why we have so much turnover. I think people don't give the island quite enough time. We've seen a lot of high profile people come and then quickly go, and it's like, come on, you didn't give us a chance. So there's some little magic to it, and obviously island living is tough and it's not for everyone, but I'm so excited to be among a bunch of people that care about it the way I do.
And as we look, a company's values are the guiding principles that inform its decisions, actions, and behaviors. What are the top core values that you represent in your business and its culture? Frank?
We kind of have a mantra in the business that's quality, production, and dedication. And it's something that is literally posted on job sites. It's inside our shops, it's in our office. And again, these are things that are just, they're continuously linked. You can't take one without the other. You need to put out a product that is of the utmost quality. It's a very competitive place, even though it is very small. And there's very high expectations amongst our clients. There's very high expectation amongst the people working on these projects. So first and foremost is putting out something that is unique, it's bespoke, it speaks to Nantucket's character, the reason why people come out here, why they endure these horrible boat rides. Because it is a bit of a step above, right?
Sure.
So that quality comes first, but it can't be at the expense of not producing. You can't take forever on these things. There is an expectation, and it needs to be a reasonable expectation. So that production, making sure that you're getting things done in a certain type of efficiency. And those things are always kind of, at war with each other. And of course, it's the leader's position to make sure that they balance out, that the quality and the production stay there. And really the way that is being done is through the dedication of the business owner, of the staff that you put together. If you're all working and you're all pulling in the same direction towards that end result, you're going to get that quality, you're going to get that production because you're dedicated to the craft, you're dedicated to the end result, you're dedicated to the people that you're working for and the people that are working with you. So those are three: quality, production, and dedication.
Thank you. What are the top core values that you represent in your business and its culture? Why are they important to your business, Mary?
Well, as Michelle said, I am the executive director of the Hospital Thrift Shop, which is a nonprofit, and it's also been serving this community for 93 years. So for me, it's a vision of service to others, individuals as well as to the community, and I think that volunteers and staff who work at the thrift shop have that same feeling. They know that they're one of many who work there, yet without them, and I constantly tell them that, everyone brings something to this party, and you're an integral part of what we do here. Our mission is to provide affordable goods to the community, and as a result of that, we raise money for the hospital, the Nantucket Cottage Hospital. So I just am always making sure that the volunteers understand that they're individuals, but they're part of a bigger picture. Also, one of my mantras, and I think I have said it several times on the radio, Laura knows, is it's donate, shop, and volunteer. And I always thank the community in that. We're so grateful because everyone can be involved. You may not be able to volunteer, but you can shop, or you can donate goods. So if you're here for a week, some people bring stuff from New York and New Jersey. They want to be part of it. So I really, really try to keep that as our focus at the thrift shop.
Thank you. And when you're creating a mission, making sure your business is mission-driven, right? Creating a culture that thrives for your business, one that is supported by each of the individuals that serves it, right? Are a part of the mission striving for its best, assuring each continue to return and refer customers, for its future. Tell me some actions that you do or you enforce, right, for camaraderie in your team to drive the mission of the business and support the community it serves. Cormac.
Well, we obviously, at the Conservation Foundation, we're a nonprofit. And so we're driven by the charitable mission that we provide and the charitable benefit that we provide to the community. One of the most important things of our staff, for our staff, is to realize that each and every one of them are leaders. And we don't have to sit here that just because we're running the business or own the business, you could actually have, and I have some staff members in the corner over here, they're not going to heckle me, but they could be sitting up here and say, and I would hope they would be saying the same things in terms of the importance of leadership, particularly in a nonprofit environment. And one of the most important things in terms of putting forth more productivity and positivity for camaraderie is for them to be heard, is to listen to them, to inspire them through communication, and then challenge them to expand their thinking on how we improve that nonprofit mission. Each and every one of them come week after week with different ideas and initiatives to move our strategic planning forward. And they're excited about that. They're inspired about that. So my job, and not just my job, everybody else's job, is to inspire each other for those reasons.
And connecting them, right?
Exactly.
The importance to what they provide to the mission. Thank you.
Exactly.
So what actions do you use to enforce camaraderie in your team to drive the mission of the business and support the community it serves? Wendy.
I love that, Michelle. We're going to enforce camaraderie. Yeah.
You have to as a leader, right? Take charge.
Fortunately, I will say that's not too tough at the brewery. It's like, it draws a certain crowd to work there. It's a, kind of a bit of a party. If anything, it's, too much. No, and Peter Burke was a longtime member of our Cisco family, so it extra honored me that he thought of me to be on this today. Thank you again, Pete. But he could tell you, like, first thing, like, the staff totally, to Cormac's point, is part, a phrase just popped in my head, intentional community, and that's what a CEO friend of mine was saying, like his team. It's like the people that are coming to work together for that common purpose. Whether it's to like provide memories and a good time at the brewery or like, the value of literature or whatever in the bookstores. We have such a shared goal of serving the community in those ways and bringing people together, making connection, creating community. It all, as long as you get the right mix of people, and every once in a while somebody doesn't quite get it, but it'll feed itself, On a tangible level, Jay used to take great trips, a lot of the staff in the wintertime down to Nicaragua, Costa Rica. I was always with the kids at home. I never got to do that, and I probably couldn't have hung anyway, so that's okay. With the bookstores, again, it's just that all of them with each other more. I will say one awesome story that just never dismiss a small action that can be so meaningful. My first job on Nantucket was at Bartlett's Farm, and one day, the staff in the farm, $6 an hour. I was a girls' crew. We picked flowers, hot. And one day, like morale was getting low in August, and Dorothy Bartlett came over with Diet Cokes for us all and sat down with us on the picnic table right there by the farmhouse, and we were like, it was the biggest thing that had happened like the whole freaking summer except for Mr. Rogers. I just can't believe what an impact that made on me, like at a young age, to have her come and sit with us. So, I leave you with that like little image because it made me kind of love Nantucket. So.
And you've stayed, huh? Excellent.
Small gestures.
Well, employees stay with the business when they feel valued and appreciated, right? What actions do you take to connect with your team to let them know the value they provide to your business, right? Connecting together towards that mission to really feel appreciated. Mary?
Well, as many of you know, we have a very small paid staff at the thrift shop. There's just 2 full-time people and myself, and they've been with me 5 and 6 years, so I've been very fortunate that way. So with the staff, they have a lot of freedom and say in just the way the operations are, if we're going to change the way we're doing something there. I mean, it's constantly changing at the thrift shop. You just never know what's going to happen there. And then I have about 150 volunteers that I manage, which is a lot of volunteers to manage. And everyone comes there for a different reason. They're motivated for a different reason to be there. So I really need to understand that in order to, make sure they know they're appreciated, whether they're there 2 hours a week. Some people come 5 days a week to work. So it's really reminding them that whatever they contribute is important to the mission. As many of you know who shop at the thrift shop, mid-shift, myself or my assistant Petra go around with a tray of cookies and iced tea and water. And even if the shop is jam-packed, we are making our way around, and the volunteers, ooh, cookies. They are so excited, like they never had it before. So I know it goes back to Mrs. Bartlett with the sodas. And I just lead with a very grateful heart. It's just my style. So I say hello to everybody when they arrive, and I make sure if they have gone out the back door, I'm chasing them out to say thank you. So that's how we do it at the thrift shop.
The words you use is what they focus on, right? What are some powerful words that you say when you're saying thank you, like with empathy to your staff or volunteers?
Everyone does a different job there, so I'm always certain I am specific. Thank you today for organizing all those books or moving that stuff. It's just you're shaking your head because you're an awesome customer at the thrift shop, so you understand. It's just saying thank you. It's very simple.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
All right, employees stay with the business when they feel valued and appreciated. What actions do you take to connect with your team to let them know the value they provide in the work connecting them to the mission and feeling appreciated? Also, do you have a system in place that allows other employees to recognize the staff that go above and beyond their duties? Cormac.
So one of the things that we do on a monthly level and on a weekly level, we have all staff meetings and team department meetings as well. And each and every individual is encouraged to say positive words and words of thanks and gratitude for something that somebody did to support each other. And that's very, very important to build that team camaraderie. And we have various departments. You're also encouraged to thank somebody from across department, because you can get into a mode where you're somewhat siloed in your own little lens. And it's very important to have that communication to thank individuals outside a department, particularly for items that aren't specific in their day-to-day tasks. They gave support. They went out of their way to help this person outside of their normal course of a day. And that's very important to recognize and appreciate. I think one of the most important things that just people in general, they want to be appreciated. They want to feel valued. And to say that to your team members and your intentional community, that's so important. And I think what else is really important is to do one-on-one check-ins. It's difficult when you have a very large staff to do those one-on-one check-ins on a constant basis, but make sure you do it all the way to the person that is supervised by 3 people underneath you. Make sure you check in and talk with them and listen to them. And if they say something that you in your head potentially you don't necessarily agree with, listen to them. Be an active listener. Think about what they're saying and empower them to speak up about what they are concerned about. And I think that's one of the most important things, again, just to improve that communication aspect at an organization.
So you allow open feedback to come back to you. And
Absolutely.
how often do you meet with your direct reports, I'd say?
Direct reports on a daily basis, but as a senior leadership team, we meet once every 2 weeks. But what's most important across the gamut, whether it's for-profit or nonprofit, don't have a meeting just to have a meeting, because we get into that mode. Have a meeting on a senior leadership standpoint to talk about large-scale issues on how we can be a support network for everybody else in the team. What can we do to lead by example for everybody else? And then also basically share items that are of importance to the organization itself. Again, solicit that feedback for the advancement of our strategic goals and our planning, and how we can, again, be a support network for everyone else.
Thank you. All right. What actions do you take to connect with your team to let them know the value they provide in the work, connecting them to the mission and feeling appreciated? Denise.
Well, one of the beauties of being in the restaurant business is that there is a lot of forums for everyone to tell my staff how wonderful they're doing. So we do a lot of pre-shifts every day. We'll do morning and afternoon pre-shift, and we can go over all the lovely TripAdvisor reviews, Yelp reviews, all the positive feedback that we get from the customers. So, you know, if someone is mentioned by name, which we as managers try to table touch every guest that comes in, whether it's saying hello or goodbye. A lot of you have probably seen me. We try to get an honest feedback from the customer and translate that both to the kitchen staff, who I feel like a lot of time only hears the bad things. So if someone says, "Wow, that's the best mac and cheese I've ever had," I make sure I go in the kitchen and say, "Hey, by the way, this 8-year-old said it's the best mac and cheese he's ever had," and I feel like he's had a lot of mac and cheese. So we make sure
knows
that
his stuff.
if we get a feedback, we transfer that positive feedback and not just the negative feedback. And if we do have any negative feedback, we obviously discuss what we can do on how I can support them and how I drop the ball and what I can do to help them. I think that it also creates a little bit of friendly competition. If one of the employees is in there for the best making somebody's vacation, then the other people want to step up, and then they're like, well, no, I got one now. And so we just, it kind of creates a friendly competition between them to just go above and beyond to give the guests the best experience, which is, what our mission is always in customer service. And we do that. We also do a little bit of, friendly competition with, sales, whether it's selling specials or selling, specialty drinks. And we get the team involved with, coming up with drinks. If we have like a product we want to highlight, then they'll kind of taste it together and find out the best, making sure it's a balanced cocktail, and then whoever sells the most of it gets a gift certificate to the Brotherhood or to the brewery. And we kind of work with other local businesses to, motivate the team to be the best that they can, which benefits them because we're in a for-profit business. At least they are. So getting them to, motivate each other to provide the best experience for everybody, and just pushing along any positive feedback we get, making sure they hear it.
How do you use that towards motivation? Tell me, how do you motivate your staff, possibly in the beginning of each peak season, and bringing that out to the off season?
Well, education, to make sure they have all the information on the tools, whether it's products or menu, or we make sure that they taste, try. We bring them all to the brewery and they learn how to make beer and whiskey and wine, and we make sure that they stay motivated with new products and new drinks, and that's why we use specials and specialty drinks to keep them constantly motivated, and give them bring in a lot of our vendors and work with our vendors closely so that they can continue to educate them, and then they learn more, and the more they learn, the better they feel about it, and so their day-to-day gets better because they're learning something new every day. So that keeps them motivated to further their own careers, and they can go into their next job knowing more about wine or whiskey or barbecue or oysters or whatever it is. And then again, just little positive gifts and cash and gift cards and stuff.
Things that they are interested in, right?
Yeah.
Things that they possibly talk about, that they want to know more of or learn more, whether it's their goals or looking in ways that they're talking about family, finances, whatever those ways are going to motivate them, to help them encourage. Thank you. I'm looking at trust, right? And many of leaders, it's difficult to even lead a team without that. If you don't have trust, it personally leaves people in different positions of uncomfortableness, and many people will leave an organization without having that with their leader. Can you share some insightful approaches you use to gain that trust with your staff and helping them build, right, in the mission? Sorry. Cormac?
Gain that trust. Obviously, we're there to collect in a common goal for the charitable mission, but it's also good to ask people, quite frankly, how they're doing outside of the organization. Touch base with them to see how they're doing. It's difficult to live on this island sometimes, and it's particularly difficult to live on this island in a situation where housing is very difficult. There's sometimes not a lot to do. So it's always good just to understand that they don't live their life 8 to 5 or 9 to 5. There's a lot of other stuff going on in the organization, and as you develop a communication style and become friends with your teammates, you can develop better trust.
Now, is there a line that you hold between that friendship, right, and professional? I had that question asked me.
Yeah,
to ask that.
absolutely. There's obviously expectations for performance, expectation to achieve goals and objectives on a weekly, quarterly, annual basis. And by having that open and honest communication of what those expectations are, you can still draw that line. It's a delicate dance, but there's a line that you can draw. And if people have bought into the common goal, it's not as difficult as it could be perceived to be if there are bumps and obstacles in terms of holding that line. And another thing in terms of the nonprofit community, in terms of trust, there, as we know, we've been board members or we've worked with board, there is this hierarchical, the board is up here.
Thank God.
And many of the staff don't interact with the board and think that there's, communications they're not aware of, there's decision making that's happening. If you clearly communicate what's happening at the board level outside of sensitive business and executive session, and you tell them what's going on and share that story, there is a level of trust that they feel more empowered that they're part of the team, even though they're not necessarily at those meetings, but they understand clearly what's going on. One of the things that we do is we try for all the department meetings that are related to certain committees of the board, that each individual in that department can participate in the committee meetings, so that they're, again, more part of the conversation, the decision-making process, and are empowered going forward.
Thank you. All right, Frank, what are some opportunities you take to build trust with your staff?
I think the trust starts at the very beginning, whether that's at the point of hire or very soon thereafter, is to get kind of an understanding of who that person is, where they're coming from, what their expectations are, what their goals are, both within the current job, with the profession in its totality, what they want in their own personal life, what are their goals, and having that initial meeting for me and for my managers to understand where is this person coming from, where are they headed, or where do they see themselves headed. From there, we can kind of start the process. It's obviously a very long one, that there's going to be a lot of bumps in the road along that path, and it always needs to be individual. Obviously, there's the very large-scale, broad brush of completing projects and having a good customer experience, but all those little day-to-day minutia that makes up, a person's life, comes from having that communication and knowing what they want, where they're headed. I think Cormac was saying, understanding they're at work 8 to 5, or in our business, it's maybe 7 to 6 or whatever it may be, but appreciating and acknowledging out loud to that person what their life is outside of work, and bringing that constantly into the conversation of what they are doing currently, where they're headed, checking in with them to see how they feel they're doing on their goals, getting feedback from the managers, site foremen, project managers, from myself. That by having that kind of continually happen and to make it very specific unto that person, the trust just naturally falls into place because they're seen, they're heard, they feel appreciated. They're not just, another cog in the machine, that they're actually a person with a name and a face and with goals. And with all of that kind of put out there and reminded to them, and of course to ourselves, because, I make my mistakes, plenty. Through that, you get this great trust and appreciation, and then you get a better product, you get a better experience. The people are happy to show up to work. They know that they can express my shortcomings, the manager's shortcomings, and through all of those day-to-day, minute-by-minute little moments, you get this much larger zeitgeist, if you will, of trust and faith in the process, and better retention through that.
Yes. Are there ways that you empathize with your employees during times that possibly are not in the best interest of your business? Is there a time you recall that with them that built that trust for them to show up a little differently?
That's a very interesting and very loaded question. And I don't mean that in any bad way.
Sure.
I like to think of things kind of in the long term. So are there moments of empathy that in the short term could negatively impact the business? Yes, but in the hopes of long term benefiting that person and in turn benefiting the business. I think if my goal was only to maximize the profit and potential of every moment and with every person, I mean, one, I'd be a horrible person, and two, the whole product and process and my name and the business itself would completely fall apart, or it just really wouldn't be worth it, So there's a lot of those gambles, and looking back over the 20 or so years, maybe more, that I've been in this business, I have fallen on my face. I have made those gambles, thinking I was doing the best thing for that person in the long term, realizing, yeah, they might have benefited, I didn't. And sometimes that was okay, and other times it wasn't. But you pick up and you learn from that things, I think, or you learn from those moments. I think ultimately it is really important to prioritize that person, even if I got to take a hit. I'll be all right. I've positioned myself pretty well. So sometimes if you have to take a little sacrifice for the betterment of a person over a product or profitability, whether that falls back on the balance sheet perfectly, I don't know. But does it balance itself out in the spreadsheet in your mind? I think so.
Thank you. Mary, do you recall a time you empathized with an employee in a situation and what the outcome was? Did it benefit you as a leader to be able to connect with them, building trust?
I think just day to day, this is a big part of my job. Many of the volunteers come in and, we've gone through births, deaths, marriages, all sorts of life events with our volunteers. And it goes back to what both Frank and Cormac were talking about. It's about the relationships. It's about listening. It's about being empathetic. I haven't had any of those really uncomfortable type of moments. I think it's a different environment that way because they mostly are volunteers, and I have a very small staff. But I think it goes back to the listening. It's hearing what they're saying. I am just really good on detail, so if someone comes in, I could say, "Oh, how's your daughter Susie? Did she have a good visit with her 2 children?" And they're, "You're amazing. You remember that?" It's just something I do, but I'm not just doing it to do it. I'm curious, and I want to ask those questions. So I think empathetically, that's the way I do connect to the volunteers as well as to the staff, and also with customers and the people who come in to donate. It's all about the relationships for me, as you said in my introduction. I think it's very important in that environment.
Now, do you encourage open and honest dialogue? I heard you speaking of this earlier, and solicit feedback. And what opportunities do you provide to encourage your staff to voice their beliefs, concerns in the workforce? Frank?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is critical on the large scale. It's critical day by day. Again, there's a lot of layers to this, but we do work in a dangerous job. So being able to have open dialogue, I need to instill that within the crew very, very early on, because if you don't feel that you're able to say something, you're putting yourself at risk, you're putting others at risk. I find my personal style is a lot of self-deprecation and humor, because it kind of breaks down all the walls. You know, if your staff can hear you making fun of yourself and just kind of making light of some of the situations that they might not think the business owner or the quote-unquote boss can do, it really strips away so many of these imaginary walls, right? Because we're all prisoners of our own mind, and people really get locked inside there. So if they know that it's okay, if they know that, you know, you can take light of some of these serious things, if they see me doing it, it opens the doors for better communication and a much safer communication. And I have to actively go out to certain people, you know, particularly when it's a new relationship with, say, it's a new vendor, a new subcontractor, new employee, to let them know that that's okay. I know we're going to talk about diversity a little bit later, but without going too far into that, everyone's coming from a very unique position, and to understand that and to hit it early, let them know very, very early that you're aware of that, the dialogue happens. And whether that's, you know, on the job site, in the truck, back in my office, everybody knows they can always reach me, that I'm always there to listen to them, because I want them to, again, it goes back, it's very simplistic, but it's that safety. It's an imperative, right? It's a natural human imperative. If you feel safe, all these other things can fall into place. If you don't feel safe, nothing else happens. You can't even start a dialogue. You can't even start on your task. So I start there. They know that it's an open door kind of thing. They know if the managers aren't hearing them, and this has happened plenty of times, they can come straight to me. We're not going to get into this big kerfuffle of there is no overstepping bounds. And through that, again, it goes back in your trust and your honesty. But it's that baseline human imperative that then everything else can build upon.
Thank you. Now, communication's key, right? Absolutely. The way you communicate, how you communicate, the expectations you provide. Do you encourage open and honest dialogue and solicit feedback? Cormac?
Yeah, and I think I did allude this beforehand, but I think one thing that we are all striving to have open and honest communication and feedback on the various programs, initiatives, and how we advance our own businesses and organizations. It's very, you have to be very careful on if you solicit feedback, solicit ideas, and then none are acted on. Because employees will then start being a little bit more quiet.
How do you enforce that? How do you enforce
Not
that?
every idea can be acted upon. So that, again, that's the process where you have to have a open and honest relationship to inspire the creativity, to just inspire those programmatic initiatives, but also explain that there's a process that it has to meet with our strategic plan, our overall goals and objectives. The financial considerations, being a nonprofit, those obviously have to come in. But for example, for our land management team, they are time in, day in, day out, are concerned about the use of our properties and people trashing them, the litter, the pollution. And if they want to see action in terms of how we can actually mitigate that damage and take appropriate outreach and education to the community, and we don't go ahead and do that, then they'll say, why are we even bringing this up? Why are we voicing our concerns? Because it's obviously not being acted upon. So when a person brings up a concern, we try to groupthink it. We try to groupthink it from an education and outreach point of view, from an implementation point of view. How can we really support each other to do what we individually do on a day-to-day basis to bring that to fruition in terms of what their concerns are? And that's basically what we've done with the land management department. We've instituted certain regulations. We've brought members of the community together, and we've done a lot of education and outreach. And when they see that action taking place, they're more encouraged to talk further and express their concerns and express how they potentially think that the organization can advance.
Thank you. And I'm hearing a lot about that strategic alignment, right? And ways and initiatives to move them forward. What actions do you take as the leader to align your team with the strategic initiatives you place through your vision to really?
So, as a nonprofit and for-profits, strategic planning is a fundamental part of what we all do. We certainly have quarterly objectives and goals. We envision where we want to be in 3 to 5 years. What are the financial constraints? The old SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and we don't say threats anymore. We say something else. What is out there? And by just doing it in a box, at least in the nonprofit community, if you do it with 3 people and the board, there's no way the team is going to buy into it. Mm-hmm. They're going to be given a plan, and they're going to say, we weren't empowered as part of this process. The board's not going to be doing this day to day. It's the staff and the team that's going to be doing it day to day. So in terms of the mission and getting people involved, we certainly have mechanisms in place. We have a relatively, it's a small staff, but relative for Nantucket in terms of nonprofits, 15 people year round. It goes up to 20, 25 in the summertime. Not every single person can be part of a strategic planning process, but the committee and the board work has to be disseminated to the staff on a regular basis to get their input and to get their feedback and to get some of the initiatives that they'd like to see. So we do a lot of that. You're not going to do that on a year-to-year basis, because then you just would be strategically planning to strategic plan. But we're in a strategic planning process right now that will chart the course for the organization for the next 3 to 5 years. And I think we've been very successful to solicit those ideas from the staff and also make them aware of the process of what's going on as well.
Thank you. Denise, what actions do you take as a leader to align your team with the strategic initiatives, to follow through with your vision?
Our business is customer service, and the customer is really the main goal. So, we were saying that we're ambassadors, letting the team know that a lot of times, especially with our location, people will get off the boat, make it up to the bank and back, and that's their whole entire experience in Nantucket. And they spend 2 hours
right
with
there.
us, and the day trippers, they come and they're choosing to spend, time with us, and they won't remember the name of their server or where they ate or what they ate, but they will remember that the one time they went to Nantucket, how great the experience was. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I, give them the freedom to be able to treat everybody like their family. We do a couple different discounts, whether it's, friends and family discounts or military discounts, Coast Guard, getting somebody, hey, they tried a couple items, but they really wanted to try the cornbread. Can we send them out a piece of cornbread? Just like the little things, making sure that they know that each individual person is not a dollar sign. They're a customer who's having an experience, whether it's their birthday or they're just, their day away from the kids, whatever it is. Even if it's something simple, being able to know that they have the freedom and opportunity to be able to go, not look at my bottom line. If they want to give away some food and it's going to make somebody's experience, they're going to come back. So it's not like we're losing money. We're gaining, gaining trust from our customers, and we're gaining, a relationship with people. So, the mission is just to make people feel like they're at home and happy. And our team feels that they have the freedom to make those decisions and say, hey, they just got engaged, I'm sending out a glass of champagne. And that's great, go for it. So keeping them in line with our goal is just making everybody happy.
Now, how do you motivate them, right? During that season, once they're starting up, that peak season, when those boats are showing up, those people are getting off, they're going straight to the barbecue. Tell me, how do you motivate your staff to assure they're showing up their best? What are some opportunities you take?
The customers motivate them because, the better experience they provide, the customer always provides them, gets it back to them. But it's, you know, like these two were saying, it's little things, you know, getting Gatorade and popsicles for the kitchen staff, making sure that they know that we're on the floor and we're there to support them if they need to, you know, again, keeping the conversation open. If they need to step off for a minute, just let me know and I'll watch your section. Just say, hey, I gotta take a breath of fresh air, and we'll, you know, cover it for them and letting know that they have us to lean on in any given time. Like I said, again, if it's too much, they need to step off. They're starving. They went and got a Gatorade on their break but didn't eat anything, and they, you know, just keeping the communication open and knowing that we're there to support them.
Thank you. Cormac, what are some ways that you motivate your team, right, towards the, I guess, off-season and peak season, if you have that during the conservation areas? Yes.
Guys, how do I motivate you? In terms of peaks, we all know that there is no peak season anymore on Nantucket, particularly with our jobs. It's a year-round job. And when we're not, if the businesses are closed, when the businesses, well,
You're always working.
we're always working, yeah. But when the peak season has kind of slowed down, we're planning for the next peak season. And we certainly take a little bit of a breather, but we're working quite hard on planning for the next year in terms of our programs and initiatives. I think in terms of motivation as it relates to our charitable mission, getting everybody to discuss and explore why they actually are coming in to work. My team doesn't necessarily come into work for the dollar. Nonprofits, if they're out in the for-profit marketplace, they're going to get paid a lot more. And to really, again, goes back to value and appreciation on that. But in terms of motivation, everybody is motivated around that common charitable goal. And it's through our outreach and education endeavors. It's through providing that visitor experience on the property. It's through our science and research, which has impact and relevancy in the local community and beyond. It's getting people just very excited about what we do. Because at the end of the day, that's who we are. Our whole job is surrounded in terms of who we are. It defines us. It makes us who we are. And I think we've all experienced people who just certainly don't want to be there. And the challenge of inspiring them is sometimes difficult. But if everybody can rally around that common goal, and again, it's not just nonprofit, it's for-profit, nonprofit. What's the common goal that we can be excited about? How am I individually valued? Did I go to sleep tonight feeling that I did a good job day's work? And are excited to get up in the next morning? That's pretty important. As leaders, how do we actually inspire that? It's day-to-day communication. It's talking about that mission. It's talking about the smiles on the customer, the product that you deliver, and getting them really proud and have pride in what they do.
They're
And I see that
passionate.
day to day.
Passionate about what they do.
Exactly.
They truly believe,
Yep.
right, and what they're bringing out. Sounds fantastic. So as we look at going forward on this, what are some ways that you, Wendy, when you look at the quality of people that you bring into, as an individual, what qualities do you look for when you're actually hiring the right staff and retaining them?
What qualities in hiring? Everybody say it together. Housing?
Yes.
I mean, okay,
yes.
aside from housing, you got to be a great, nice person, et cetera. I'm sitting here and I'm doing the math and I'm like, I'm 54 years old and I started working at Bookworks in '95. That's half my entire life. It's been right here. It's crazy, 27 years. And I also think, I've been working with Christina Blank since the day, I started there, 27 years. Dick Burns, Suzanne, we've got a long time people. The brewery, same thing, tons of people year in, year out. Not everybody, of course, but the downside is it's a little hard in these kind of organizations to have enough vertical mobility to give people the career opportunities that you might like. But on the other hand, in these stable types of businesses where we're trying to just stay the same and like create the memory, people that have been coming. My favorite day on Nantucket is the day before Christmas, and I see all the kids that come home from college, and then they were babies. I remember, we all know that's what's really fun. So I guess my point there is that I've been lucky to not have too many, of the full-time positions need to be filled. Of course, in the summer we get a lot of turnover, and we need people that are very friendly, very nice, very, curious, intelligent, motivated. All those things. Those are definitely what you need. Definitely the sense of humor. Definitely the self-deprecating. One point I did want to make was that I have been burned. Too much leading with heart and forgiveness and empathy. I got totally taken advantage of one year by some guy who was like living at Mitchell's. He was a complete crook. Stole I added up about 20 grand. So don't be too. Don't think it's all. Don't be me all the time. You gotta kind of watch. There are some bad eggs every once in a while. I wanted to make one mention because I don't know if I got a chance to mention it. There's something great. Denise reminded me of it with Yelp reviews and things. And when you have too much of a family type business, like these people that I say they're like total family, if they get a bad review on Yelp, it's awkward for me to have to address it. So I found a good service called the Respondery this year. Somebody just out of the blue linked in me, and I was like, yeah, I need that service big time. And she's a beautiful third party neutral. It's like $100 a month I pay, and it's just it's really helped me this year a bunch of times. So just wanted to throw in a little plug for that service.
Thank you. We all know the diversity the island holds, right? A thriving company culture is built when everyone in the company shares the same vision. Each person is clear about what they do and contributes to the vision, making it a reality. When everyone at the company at all levels has a sense of purpose, right, as we spoke of, the company culture thrives. What actions have you taken as a leader to be more attentive to the other cultures and adapt to their needs in your business? Frank?
Well, yeah, this goes to the whole diversity topic. The beauty of Nantucket is it's already here. We are the third most diverse community in the state of Massachusetts behind Boston and Worcester. And that is one of the greatest things about getting up and going to work every day is that you have literally everybody from around the world. Now, me personally, I like to find out where everyone's from on the job, and then I learn how to say good morning and how are you in their native language. And the response you get from people when you do something what is seemingly pretty innocuous and not very hard to do is overwhelming. People absolutely love it. My Spanish is interesting. It's much better if I'm sitting at a bar, but I make it a point to speak Spanish with native speakers on job sites, and a lot of the guys want to practice speaking English, so we figured out I speak Spanish, they speak English, and we work it out that way. And the diversity is really, I find, one of the most beautiful parts about Nantucket, that you're 30 miles out to sea in the middle of nowhere, and people from everywhere. Our clientele really seem to love that when they find out that you have someone like a Uyghur from Northwest China. That is one of the most obscure things in the world, and they're right here, working together with, somebody that immigrated from the southern, U.S. for the same reasons, for better opportunities to provide for their family. And if I could kind of tie this into two other thoughts that keep going through my head while I'm listening to all the other panelists, one thing that we haven't really touched on is a sincerity in what we're saying and what we're doing. So we're talking about having these meetings. We're talking about speaking to our employees about their goals. We're talking about strategic vision. Cormac said something about don't have meetings for meeting's sakes, but you do need to have your meetings. People, whether they even realize it themselves or not, everybody has a really good radar on sincerity. So you can sit down and have that meeting with somebody and say all the right things, but if your heart's not in it, and you're not asking about these things from the right place, like if you're just checking the box because you're supposed to say, hey, I'm really supposed to care about you, what are your visions in life, and what are your goals, they'll know it.
Authenticity.
That authenticity, and everything else goes to the wayside unless they actually feel that sincerity. And it's, you know, Cormac also said something really interesting about, like, I think the question was something along the lines of, like, how do you take in all of your team members' visions and ideas, and how do you listen to that? And he touched on it very briefly, because it is a sensitive subject. But sometimes you have to say, no, that doesn't work. That's not part of our strategic plan. But it has to come from a sincere and goodwill, or a good-hearted position, where you say, hey, I hear you, I'm listening to you, and I'm not just going to cut you off at the knees and say no. It's no because of these things. You know, having that kind of, you know, taking the time, listening to them, going into all of the layers of why something is a good idea, why it's a bad idea, listening to their background, getting what diversity actually means. Don't say, I want to be diverse for diversity's sake, which kind of seems to be a topic or a thing to do now, but actually stopping and listening and appreciating, you know, where these people come from. So I guess back to your original question, the diversity is here. It's, I guess, how do we as team leaders access it? And I think you do that through sincerity.
Thank you. Wendy, what are some opportunities and actions that you've taken as a leader to be more attentive to your employees' cultures, right, and adapt to their needs in your business?
I guess I don't take that as employees' cultures in the same way that certainly Frank would. You know, our staff is, in our books that we sell are generally English speaking, but we do absolutely want to serve the community in, you know, the widest possible way. It's a little tough. Spanish, it would certainly be the most prevalent language. I think the way that we've most successfully done that is absolutely through the Nantucket Book Festival. And we have a big program of writers in schools, and we support Gillian Myers and her truck that brings books everywhere. So it does pain me a bit that we don't get, you know, all of our community shopping with us downtown. That reality isn't there, you know, and it probably won't be. Like, I'd love to get a lead on a cool little book truck that we could take around, because like taking the books to the communities is a really great way to do it. So we do a lot of work with the schools, tons, as many as we can. Like, the authors come, we have free books, you know, we do everything we can. We're working a lot more closely with the Boys and Girls Club now. I absolutely, you know, love any diverse applicant, you know, pretty much gets the job. Like, like I just want to have a lot of different people, you know, in the store. It's definitely a challenge for this particular piece of retail here. But we're psyched about what we're doing on the nonprofit side of all that.
Thank you. So we know as leaders, we're constantly evolving, right? Looking for the next step of our standards to be even better, right? Learning off the processes that we do with each of our employees. As we wrap up tonight's session, what are some opportunities you would like to take as a leader in the upcoming year to improve, possibly in your leadership or your business? Wendy? Go for it.
Maybe Michelle said, because I love this question, because I just loved even preparing all these things. I haven't thought about this stuff for a while, and it's really, really motivating. I hope you guys get something. I think we'll have a little Q&A, not to
Yes,
keep you all night.
we're going that next.
But yeah,
yes.
it just absolutely, every few years you need to stop and think about it a little, like, what am I doing and why, you know, and how can it be better, and where am I being lazy, you know, like, where am we in a rut, like a total rut. So I'm really excited. I forgot to mention on that diversity piece and the working with the schools, Eliza Stedman's going to come on full time. Many of you might know her, wonderful family, and she's an excellent Spanish speaker, and like myself, and to do more work with the schools. So that's a real piece I want to build out and have her do a lot more community work. So I think that's an opportunity for us there. And just, you know, just to improve my communication skills. I'm taking notes from Cormac. Have meetings? What? I don't like that. But I'll try.
Thank you. Denise, what are some opportunities you can take in the upcoming year to increase your influence as a leader in either your business or in your leadership?
Well, I agree with Wendy that, you know, especially with the past couple of years, 2020 and 2021, we just seemed that we were just trying to keep our head above water, and being able to communicate with everyone in this room and the people on this panel and revisit why we do what we do. And, it, you know, like she said, you kind of get into the habit of this is what I do, and then the whys and the hows and how it's affecting other people is something that you have to always remind yourself of. And there's always room to improve on it, and there's, you know, there's always new people coming in, and like every single person learns differently. this new generation of people coming into the workforce are different than the ones that we've worked with already. And we have to continue to learn how to motivate them, even though we've motivated people for 20 years in the business. Then now we have to learn a new way to motivate people, and they're all going to need something different from us, and we're going to have to find out ways to communicate what we've been communicating in a completely different way. So everything that we have talked about and everything that we've learned is a basis to learn how to do it all again.
Thank you. All right, now we're going to take some questions and answers. How would you like to do it? Does anyone have a question in the audience that they'd like to ask our panel? All right.
Oh, I get a microphone. How fabulous. Thank you. So, you all have done a fabulous job. I got the opportunity to hear how you motivate your staffs in the nonprofit and the profit world. I run some media companies on the island, and often I feel very alone at the top. And I was able to talk to Cormac when we sat down, and he told me about going to New York and getting these great visionary plans with his board, which helps him. So I'm really asking, out of all of you, who motivates you, and who keeps you motivated to motivate your staff?
Excellent question. Cormac?
This might sound a little cliche, but who motivates me? My team.
Okay.
Yeah. It's because they're here, but when I'm dealing with budgeting, insurance, financial projections, a workers' comp claim, all this stuff, I sometimes lose track of our charitable nonprofit programs and initiatives. What's the purpose? And they are fortunate enough to have the ability to work day in, day out on those items, and then they motivate me and share me on their thoughts and their initiatives. Other people that actually outside the organization that inspire me, that would be our donors, our donor base. Our donor base, and on Nantucket, it's one of the most charitable bases that's around. So their inspiration, they could give their charitable dollars anywhere, and luckily they do spread it amongst a wide variety of nonprofits on the island. And it's very important to touch base with that donor to get motivation. And it's great to be appreciated, because what they'll say is, I love the work that you do. And that makes you feel good, and that motivates you.
Wendy, would you like to include?
I was just gonna put in a plug for like awesome audiobooks. Brene Brown is incredible. We did a thing, and there's ways you can support the bookstores here with Libro FM. But and I went back to get an MBA a few years ago, and being around young people doing that was awesome for me. Like, of course, then it was hard to come and apply those things to existing culture. It was like, oh, but like just seeking out, like I read Inc. magazine every time I fly. Like I just soak up all that's out there that we're not normally seeing. And there's a million fantastic motivational, podcasts and everything. Like it's just so helpful. I'm an addict.
Thank you.
If I could jump in really quickly, mine is very simple. It's very easy. But my motivation is, I have 5 kids. I have a beautiful wife. So getting out of bed is very easy for me, and that's a very selfish thing to acknowledge. But my company is made of a multitude of people that are representing their families. And so sometimes it's very easy just to sit back and say, hey, project's done, made a bunch of money, all's good, I'm good, but what about the rest of the guys? And when COVID came and it hit, I personally, this was great. I get to sit home with my 5 kids and my wife, and we get to do all sorts of stuff and keep everybody away. Like, all right, this is great, but my paycheck to paycheck guys were suffering, and that was a huge motivation. I actually negotiated the terms for the construction industry with the town to get those guys back to work, and it was really difficult. I got a lot of lumps in my head from that whole process, but it was really worth it, because I knew that these men and women that make up the trades were able to provide for their kids and their families and be, active members in our little island culture and society. So, there's plenty of days that I would much rather do something else and just go surf or play with my kids or, hang out with my wife. But you get up because it's not just your family, it's everybody's, and you know if you're up and you're providing that the whole island's clicking because there's that's really what this little island is.
Thank you. Did you want to answer as well?
Yeah, for us, the island itself is a motivation. With the ever-changing climate, the ever-changing needs of the island, whether the year-round population is growing constantly, and we need more things to do in the winter, whether it's doing Chinese food at one restaurant or trying to stay open longer at another restaurant, or trying to come up with different things that the island needs and trying to fill those new challenges that the island has for us.
Thank you.
I'll just jump in too, that I'm motivated by our mission statement, which is we provide affordable goods to the Nantucket community. So that encompasses our donors, it encompasses our shoppers and the people, our volunteers. And I know we're doing a great service to the community when we accept donations because they're not going to the landfill. And then we have excited customers who come in and get great deals. So, it goes back to, again, everyone can be involved, and that's what I'm motivated by.
I think, is this on? I think when I hear Laura's question, I think about when I was in administration at the hospital. So I'm retired from that career, and now I'm on to another career, sort of. But my point was, as a clinical director, as a compliance officer, as whatever it was I was doing, it was about having a like-minded person in the same kind of job that understood the specific things that are peculiar to that position. So I agree with everything you said, but it's kind of lonely at the top. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, it's lonely with whatever position. So my question would be, this is amazing that you executive directors are sitting here talking to us. And yes, I agree with everything you said, but is there ever the opportunity to sit with like-minded people, like-minded positions, and talk about the challenges that you have that are not about your staff? They could be something else. I mean, who doesn't have a board member that just drives you crazy? Or, no, seriously. Or who doesn't have an employee who's like, oh, my God. So where's the support? I mean, really and truly, that's the reality. So where's the support? That's all I'm saying.
I hope everybody has a great trade organizations. I mean, I encourage everyone to get really involved with whatever you've got. The independent booksellers of the country are a super tight-knit group. So I have like 500 really good friends all over the country. New England, for sure. Like I'm traveling to Seattle with Christina next month for, our get-together. Every time I go, I'm always like, book selling. Especially the really hard years. I mean, there were many years I lost money at that, and I was like, why am I bothering here? This is pain. And then I'd be like, because it's the most important thing in the world, And you become so inspired. And there's, statewide organizations. I know every single thing, and I definitely encourage people to look at that not only on island, but but beyond, because it's.
So you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah, I want to jump on that. I'm president of the Nantucket Builders Association, which I feel is a great organization that brings together the whole trades, and we do great continuing education and things like that. But it also kind of gives you a great opportunity to speak to your competitors, and there is a camaraderie there because I've been able to create great friendships with guys that we're bidding against each other on these huge multi-million-dollar jobs that will, effectively change our lives. And to go from that hyper-competitive moment to then just saying and acknowledging, it's just a guy like me, or just a gal like me that's just out there working for their family. And then you can kind of lean on each other because there are things that you talk amongst yourselves that you wouldn't talk, to your managers or to your staff about. It would just be too inappropriate. Or, you speak to your spouse, but they're not as familiar about the subject matter. I think the Chamber of Commerce is also a great opportunity to speak to other business owners, whether they're part of your trade or not. A nice little plug right there. Expect my royalties in cash. But no, really, I think it's. Shh. I got one free drink. That's it. But really, Nantucket. Without going too far out on this tangent. We all say Nantucket's a great microcosm of, the American society, American culture, and it really is. And we should take better advantage of that we get to create the kind of society and the culture that we want to live in. And maybe a good lesson, certainly something I'm taking home tonight, is that I need to be more active in chamber events and speak to other business owners and get some of their insights, because there's so much of what the panel is saying that is kind of a reflection and saying like, oh yeah, I thought I was doing well on these things, but maybe I'm not. So that's my personal takeaway, and I think that if we do that, it'll help us individually, it'll help our businesses, and it'll help our little Nantucket culture here.
Thank you. Anyone else have a question this evening? All right. Well, let's say thank you to all our panelists. Fantastic job. And I'll turn the mic to Peter.
Thank you very much, and a hand for the moderator, Michelle. Thank you very much again for attending. Thank you to the Brotherhood, Miguel. We had, let's see, Alex, the GM. She said all these spaces are available for rent if you need a private space for an event. These are all available. Other than that, looking for chamber activities, hit our website. If you are not a member and you want to join, please come up and talk to myself or Bianca or Jackie McGrady, and we'd be happy to talk to you about options. But other than that, thank you very much. Have a great night. And thank you to NCTV as well for filming. Cheers.